So since there are no holidays during this month, I wanted to focus really on the portions of the week that highlight the founding father and mother of Judaism, who are Abraham and Sarah. Right? Okay, and not just focus on what these portions highlight on Abraham and Sarah, but focus mainly on their teachings and how they were able to found a nation. Because I really believe that if we can understand the foundation of our nation, and we can understand our own foundation at what makes our personal world and Judaism altogether really sustain itself. So in front of you here are really three major ideas that, again, are called from the portions of the week that we are reading right now. And let's dive right into it. Idea number one is being stars by counting stars. Counting stars, being stars. Now this stems, I don't know if we're going to read every reference, but this stems from a very, very interesting episode that we read about last week, last Shabbat, during the portion of Lech Lecha. Because there seems to be an exchange that is almost ridiculous between God and Abraham. It's almost as if God is trying to play a dirty game with Abraham. What's the game? Abraham is sitting in his tent. Then God comes to Abraham and says to him, come out of your tent. Why? Just leave him there. If you want to say something, God, you can enter the tent. You don't have to force him out of the tent. But again, God says, come out of your tent. Okay, Abraham abides. He comes out of his tent. And then God says to Abraham, Spor kochavim, try and count the stars. Im tuchal lispor otam, if you can count them. What type of a cruel game is that? First of all, you took him out of his tent, and you would think that there's an important message, right? You don't bother someone if you don't have some urgent message to share with them. And here, there doesn't seem to be any urgent message. Quite the opposite. It's almost as if God is saying, let's play a game. And that game, he can't even really play. Because Abraham, nor can you and I, nor can any human being I know, really count stars. How many stars are there? Does anyone know? Much more. I think the number is septillions. 7 septillions. Now, in each galaxy has, I think, 200 billion stars, and there's many, many galaxies. Anyway, you get to the septillion numbers. Is it possible to count septillions? Impossible. So what is God telling Abraham? Go and count the stars. If you can count them, you can't count them. It sounds like a kid's game. And then God says to him, Vayomer lo, so shall your children be. This is again from Genesis 1. And it's not Genesis 1, for sure not. Genesis 1 speaks about the creation of the world. So the reference here is wrong, but it comes straight from the verses of last week's portion. God says to him, so your children will be. Is that true? Was there a time period in Jewish history in which we were as numerous as the stars of the heaven? No. If you would, let's say theoretically, you would take all Jews of all generations, are they as numerous as the stars of the heavens? No, neither. Again, there are so many more stars. So what is God telling Abraham? So your children be. So will your children be. We were never as numerous as the stars of the heavens. What is this exchange all about? God, you just bothered Abraham. He was in his tent. You took him out. Then you're playing this game that is completely useless. And then you give him a promise that was never materialized. So what is this all about? If you want to know how many stars there are, you can look at the next reference here. But I think that the answer is very powerful. Let's get right to it. And then we'll get to the passage of the Talmud that is just fascinating. What God was telling Abraham is that if you want to achieve the impossible, then believe that you can achieve the impossible. And if you believe that you can achieve the impossible will become possible. But for that to happen, you need to come out of your own preconceived notions, of your own comfort zone. Come out of your tent. Come out of your own bubble. Come out of your own limitations. If you come out of those limitations and you can play this game with me by trying to achieve that which is impossible, counting stars, then I promise you, the impossible will become possible. And if you can do that, since you're the founding father, Abraham, you'll inherit that quality of being able to achieve the possible through the impossible to your children. It's not saying that your children will be as numerous as the stars of the heavens. That's not what it says here. It says, so shall your children be, which really means this quality is what your children will have. And Abraham completely cooperates. He does come out of his tent. He does start counting the stars. Who would do that? I wouldn't do that. I would tell God, it's impossible. What are you trying to do? But he does that nonetheless. Why? Because he came out of his own little bubble. And he said, God, I'm in your world now. I'm acting in a divine mode. And if you act in a divine mode, there are no limits. God is limitless. Then there are no impossibilities. Abraham knew that, so he counts the stars. And God said, you're in my mode, your children will be in that mode too. It's true for the Jewish children also. That throughout history, we faced obstacle after obstacle, some that were coined by the experts as impossible obstacles to overcome. We faced survival obstacles that many have already said impossible. The oldest monument in the world is the Menafta Stela, which dates back to the 8th century BC. It's an Egyptian one. And there it says, Israel lays no more. It was a prediction by the Egyptians saying that Jews are not going to last any longer. But we face these types of obstacles. We've faced smaller obstacles, like October 7th. And many have said, that's it, we're doomed. But we inherited the quality of Abraham, that the impossible is really never impossible. Always is possible. Why? Because Abraham paved that path for us. He trailblazed it. And so can we. And in many ways, this is what also Rashi, the foremost commentator, explains on this verse. When God tells Abraham, come out of your tent, he says to him, come out of your astrological signs, your astrological predictions. Because I'm no astrologist, but astrologists will tell you that our personalities, our moods, our tempers, and so on, are very much designed by the time and place we were born. Because the astrological sign that was shining then is probably very, very much predictive of what type of person you'll be. You heard of that before? If you're a Capricorn, or if you're a Pisces, or if you're an Aquarius, or whatever it may be, that has a lot of influence of who you are. And Rashi says this is exactly what God was telling Abraham. In the words, the foremost commentary of the 11th century, Rashi. Come out of your astrological predictions. At stagninut. Because you can even beat those. Your astrology might tell you that you'll be stingy. Well, no, you'll be actually very giving. You'll be angry. You'll actually be calm. If you can be in that divine mode. If you're in that divine mode, then nothing stands your way. And this is not just the books of astrology, but it's the passage of the Talmud that teaches us that the day we were born has a lot to do with the person we are. If you're born on a Sunday, it could very well be that you have this type of personality. Monday, that type of personality. We'll read the passage itself, but this idea is really based on the days of the creation. Every day of creation, God brought a different energy to the world to create that which needed to be created on that day. So, for example, on the first day, God created darkness and light, or light first and then darkness. Right? So in many ways, if you're born on a Sunday, you are in tune with that energy. That energy means that you'll either be completely bright, completely kind, completely good, or darkness, or the opposite. Same with Monday, same with Tuesday. The energy that came down to this world to create that which needed to be created on that day is the energy that those people who are born on those days inherit. But when God tells Abraham, come out of your astrological sign, he's saying that we can even be more powerful than this, than what the Talmud is saying right here. Let's read the passage from the Talmud. Does anyone want to read? It was recorded in Rabbi Allouche ben Levi's notebook. Anyone? Anyone? Everyone has handouts, right? So anyone, please. Thank you, Indy. Go for it.
What is the reason for this? Light and darkness were created on the first day.
Right, again, that's the energy that came down to the world on the first day. Light or darkness? Is anyone born here on a Sunday? No, you don't have to tell me. Okay. All right, so you're completely light. There you go. Not Monday. Monday is a little more challenging. Let's see. Well, I was also born on a Monday. Yeah. But we're passionate. We're not angry. You'll see. One who is born on the second day, go for it. Please. Yes. Why? Right. On that day, God divided the waters, the upper waters, the lower waters, the oceans, the seas of the world, and the upper waters. So because of that division creates conflict, creates bad temper. But we can channel that in the right way. We can be passionate. Anger is not necessarily a bad quality. By the way, that's one of the great differences. We've said this in the past between Christianity and Judaism. In Christianity, you have 7 cardinal sins, like envy or greed, but in Judaism, you have no cardinal sins. Why? Because anger, one of the 7 cardinal sins, can be good. Envy can be good. If I'm jealous of a wise person, it will make me wiser because I want to be competitive with him. I want to study more. I want to learn more. If I'm angry, it could be a good thing. Angry about the right things, or you channel all that fire into some type of passion towards a mitzvah, towards Torah altogether. Right? So let's remember that as we read this. Yes. It's good to have bad temper towards bad. That's how we go through life. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Channeling anything into a positive route. Absolutely. Yes. Mm.
Of the genius of Israel talks
Oh.
a lot about this kind of thing and solidarity and belief systems and the community orientation and all of that helps push this along. So
Right. Oh, very good.
With this kind
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Perspective.
Very nice. It does define Israel in many ways. It took what seemed as bad qualities and turned them into great qualities. Like who makes mud out of what seemed so muddy in the Dead Sea? Who makes money out of that? Yeah. Who takes really, I think, the climate that they're in and transforms it into one of the greatest innovations for water in the world. So you're right. It's channeling. We're good at that usually. Yes. Okay, so that's Monday, right? That's where we're up to. Tuesday, he who is born on the 3rd day of the week. Please go for it. Let's continue. Oh, you were born on. Okay. All right, let's go. Right, you'd rather stay with the former. Yeah. There you go. There you go. That's the energy in that on that day. Okay, the 4th day, Wednesday. Let's continue. He who is born on the 4th day, anyone can continue. Good. So that's entirely good. So I can ask the question, who was born on a Wednesday? Memory. There you go. That's great. Okay. Who is born on the 5th day? Thursday.
He was born on the 5th day of the week for the act of loving kindness. What is the reason? Since the fishes and birds were created then, and they live off the kindness of God, I need food just about every day.
Very good. Okay. And then Friday. Read it. Go for it. Yeah. Okay, good.
A pursuer of mitzvot, since that is usually the central activity on the Shabbat. Someone born so.
Go. Yes. Above these forces. Very good. So Friday, you'll be a seeker of mitzvot. Shabbat, since you're completely in sync with the holiness of Shabbat. Shabbat is a holy day. You'll be holy, great and holy. So we see that even the days in which we are born form or influence at least our personalities. But you may say, well, I was born on a Monday. So you're born on Sunday, but you're completely light. That's a good thing. Monday, I think, is the only negative one here. Others like Sunday or Tuesday. Tuesday can go either way. Sunday also can go either way. Otherwise, Wednesday is completely good. Thursday is good. Friday is good. Shabbat. I think Sundays and Tuesdays, Sundays and Tuesdays are the ones that can go either way, and Monday is really the only negative one, at least seemingly, right? But still, even if you're born on a Monday, or if you see yourself born on a Sunday, belong to the other side, or Tuesday, the other side, you can still overcome that because we're not defined by astrology. We might be influenced by it, but we're not defined by it. And because we're not defined by it, we're able to overcome any negativity that comes from it. That's really the idea. And where does this come from again? From Abraham. Abraham, who was able to come out of his own astrological influences, and he gave that quality, so shall your children be, to all of us. That's idea number one, that you're not defined by your natural tendencies. Might be influenced by them, but you can overcome the negative ones. Number two, everyone is an Abraham. Now, this goes to a big question that many have. We spoke about this on Shabbat a little bit, and that is that it's interesting because Abraham is really the only biblical character that is not spoken of before the age of 70. No one knows who Abraham was until Lech Lecha, until God says to him, come out of your place, come out of your birthplace, and go to the land that I will show you. Who was Abraham before then? What job did he have? What schools did he go to? What hobbies did he have? What friends did he have? What family did he have? Did he have good relationships? Was he a sour man? Was he a good man? Was he sweet? Was he a genius? Was he a fool? No one knows. Who was Abraham? No one knows. And why? That's the question. Moses is introduced to us when he is born already. He's hidden, and then he's placed on the Nile River, and then he grows up in Pharaoh's palace. You name the character, the biblical character, and I'll name you his childhood. Not with Moses, not with Abraham. No one knows anything. The Midrash tells us a whole bunch of things, but no one knows anything about Abraham. And the big question is why? Why? So let's turn the page here and read what Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, late Lubavitcher Rebbe, has to say about this. Why were Abraham and Sarah not chosen? Sorry, it continues also. Chosen. Let's read the two references on the top of the page. Go ahead. Does anyone want to read? Mm-hmm.
It seems like an absolutely random selection. Not even a single narrative is told about Abraham and Sarah's unique virtues to underscore the greatness.
Right. So why is it? That's the question, right? Let's go to the answer. Had the Torah introduced Abraham? Go, you can continue, or anyone else.
Till this point in his life, we might have thought that they were that impetus for God to choose him. That would lead us to the conclusion that the greatness of a person can achieve is only based on his track record. But it is not. Anyone can and should attain greatness.
Right. So it's purposeful. God is not telling us about Abraham's childhood so that we don't think that in order to become Abraham's, we have to follow that path. There is no path to follow an Abraham. A nothing, so-called nothing, can become an Abraham. Even if you have zero virtues, even if you have a CV that's completely empty, you can still become an Abraham. How? If you follow the calling of go to yourself, to the place that I will show you. If you follow God's calling, if you ask yourself, what does God want of me? Not just what I want of me. If you can follow that question and answer it each and every day of your life, each and every moment of your life, you can be an Abraham. Okay, and it doesn't matter how many PhDs you have. Nor does it matter how many hobbies you have, whether you play chess or you play soccer. It really doesn't matter. What matters most is whether you are fulfilling God's desire at this very moment. And I think that in many ways, many of our heroes were like this. I want to take you to a very overlooked one. But you know that the carpenter of the first temple in Israel, King Solomon's temple, was a man named Hiram. You can look it up in the Tanakh. It's in the book of Samuel. But it was a man named Hiram. King Solomon was looking for a carpenter to build the wood of the temple. And he could have gone to somewhere in Israel. He could have gone to the best carpenter. But purposefully, he went to Lebanon, not to a Jewish man, to go and pick a Hiram that no one knew about, to build the most magnificent temple, not just in his times, but in all times. Why would he do that? Because King Solomon wanted to prove exactly the same point, that in order to build temples in life, you don't have to come from this specific family, from that specific background, or with this specific education. All you have to do is want to build a temple for God, want to fulfill God's desire each and every day. If you can do that, you'll be the greatest of greats. And I think that speaks a lot to us because, especially to our youth, there's so much. I don't know if there was a time in which our youth were under so much pressure. And I'm not just talking about academic pressure. I'm talking about also social pressure, talking about expectations that all sorts of people and their mother have for them. But all we have to do is remind them that you don't have to have A, B, C, D, and E in order to achieve greatness, in order to be Abraham. Your only motto in life should be, what does God want of me at this moment? If you can answer that question, you'll be the greatest. Regardless, again, of where you came from and what personality you have, how many hobbies you have, and how many qualifications you have. It doesn't matter. This was proven by Abraham. It's proven by Hiram. It's proven by many others, and can be proven by youth, regardless of what we may think of them or expect of them. This is really the idea here. I will add just one thing, but in English, the word for human being is an interesting one because it's kind of misleading. The word for human being is human being. In Hebrew, it's Adam. Now, Adam doesn't mean human being. Being means present. I'm a being, I'm present, I'm an entity. There's also a difference people say between human being and human doing, right? Being is just being, you're passive. Doing, you're more active. But in Hebrew, we don't even go that direction. We don't speak about being present. We don't speak about being an entity. We don't speak about also human doing. Adam means something else completely. You know what Adam means? It comes from the word, what? No, Adam, yeah. Adama. Soil, earth, right, earth. That's what Adam means. Is that a title to give us? Earth? Is that what we are? Earth? Now, I want to go further. There are other words for Adam, for human beings in Hebrew. Enosh is one of them. Ish is another. Shah. Adam is the highest. If you want to praise someone in Hebrew, saying that he's a mensch, the highest level, say he's an Adam. In the Torah, Adam is the highest level. But the highest title means earth. Let it mean diamond. Let it mean pearl. I don't know. Why are you calling it an earth? And the answer is because of this. You do not need to be a diamond in order to be an Adam. Even if you see yourself as earth, as nothing, you can still be an Adam. As long, again, as you can follow the calling of Lech Lecha. What does God want of me now? Where does God want me to move right now? What step does God want me to take? That's all. If you can do that, you can be an Abraham, you could be an Adam, even if you think you're just soil or earth. That's the idea. That's idea number 2. And then idea number 3, again, I welcome questions. We can move on to idea number 3 or any questions or comments. Yes, please, Mandy.
If they believe so strongly in that, don't they feel that God wants them to help people of Israel. Why do so many of the Orthodox Israel not want to?
Yeah, it's a loaded question because it's a loaded topic in general. In other words, why do the ultra-Orthodox not go to the army in Israel? Look, I think both sides are to blame. I think, yes, the ultra-Orthodox definitely need to go into the army. I mean, I have a son in the army. I know what the sacrifice that he has, that he does every day. And I think it should be a shared load for everybody. On the other hand, I don't think the army has the will or the ability to really accommodate their needs. I think the army also needs to make some changes, some fundamental changes in the army in order to be able to respectfully accommodate them. Right now, the army doesn't have that ability. Just let's call it a spade. I know, because again, I have a son in the army. For the ultra-Orthodox, who need to pray 3 times a day, who need to eat a certain level of kashrut, whether you agree with it or not, that doesn't matter. That's who they are. Who don't want to be with women, they have their own standards. The army's not making any effort to accommodate that. So I think there needs to be a mutual agreement here. It can't just say, oh, the ultra-Orthodox are at fault. Yes, they are, but the other side is also at fault. That's much more complex than that, but that's the gist of it. Yes, Janet.
Special needs service, that idea, people, girls or guys, singers, and they are in the band. And that's what they do. That is one of not their limitations. So they're in the idea, and that's what they are doing. So they're able to fulfill that, right?
Right.
Wouldn't there be something
Right.
for? And isn't there
Ultra-Orthodox?
There's so much to do in the army.
Absolutely. It's called national service, Shirut Leumi. That's what they do. And there should be. I don't know of a track for ultra-Orthodox for Shirut Leumi. I do know that many ultra-Orthodox do volunteer hours upon hours. Look, I think we see it each and every time there's a terrorist attack. Who goes and collects the bodies? And not the bodies, the pieces of the bodies, really. You see all these people with the payas and everything. You see them everywhere. Zaka, that's right. Or you see them doing tremendous acts of kindness with cancer patients and with kids. And, the Phoenix Children's Hospital is the parallel of the Phoenix Children's Hospital in Israel. Is really led by the ultra-Orthodox.
Where they can fit their religious schedule into...
That's right. So they do that, but I don't know if there's an official track, and I don't know if it's accepted as army service for the ultra-Orthodox, for the men at least. But right. Yeah, but you see, that's where they're wrong. That's where they are wrong. I think both sides, again, need a lot of fixing to do. Yes, studying all day is important. First of all, a lot of them don't study. A lot of them smoke cigarettes and drink coffees and sit and talk and schmooze, and that's about it. I know. I mean, I've been there. So I'm not generalizing, but some of them don't. Those definitely have to go to the army. But if you're going to sit down and study, all right, sit down and study, but there should be Torah v'avodah, as we know. It's, we have our nation was always a dual nation in that sense. We had our Torah side. Every human being has to have his Torah side. You have to study Torah every day, regardless of whether you're a soldier or you're going to work. But on the other hand, you also have to have the active side. So, yeah, that I think both sides are very set in their ways. And unfortunately, there's no real dialogue there, as it seems like, that could lead us to a good solution for all. Anyway, but that's to touch upon that topic. Okay, so if idea number 1 was that we have to come out of ourselves and believe in the impossible because we can achieve it, idea number 2 now was we can all be Abrahams if we can just answer the call of Lech Lecha each and every day, each and every moment. Idea number 3 is completely a different idea, and it comes from an overlooked passage in the Torah. Again, it speaks about Abraham, where he was told by a giant of his time. His name is not mentioned, at least in this context. In the Midrash he is, but he was told by a giant of his time, "Hey, Abraham, your nephew Lot, who live in Sodom, he's captured, he's kidnapped. You should go and save him." Abraham, of course, goes, tells his soldiers, come with me. Let's go and save Lot. Now, who was this man who told Abraham about Lot being kidnapped? This was a giant that had very bad intentions. He wanted Abraham to go and save Lot so that the people who captured Lot would launch a war against Abraham. He was hoping that Abraham would then be killed. If Abraham is killed, then this giant could marry Abraham's wife, who he had a crush on. So his intentions were evil, just terrible. It was a trap. Yet this Og, because of what he did, because eventually Abraham was able to save Lot, thanks to him sharing the news that his nephew was kidnapped, that giant is rewarded. How would a giant like that be rewarded, especially if his intentions were so bad? So let's get into the thickness here of the passages. Let's go to the verse first that speaks about Abraham's nephew Lot being kidnapped, and let's see what happens. Genesis 14. Does anyone want to read? They captured Lot. Anyone?
Abraham's brother and his Lot, and they left. He was living in
Survivor, who's the giant that we were speaking about, yeah, came.
In Hebrew. Abraham heard that his brother was captured. He mobilized his men.
Right. So he said to his army, come, let's go and save my nephew. All right. Now, who was this survivor? Who was this man who shared those news with Abraham? This survivor who escaped the battlefields? Does anyone want to read? Yeah. Oh, so until God changed his name was Abram. This is when his name is still Avram or Abram. And then God adds a hey, right? Then he's named Abraham. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it's the typo. Yeah. Good. No problem. Of course. So who was this man who told Abraham that his nephew is kidnapped? Let's go. Let's read what the Talmud has to say. The survivor. Please. So. Right.
Years later declare war on the Jewish people, attempting to exterminate them. Why then did he want to save life? Rather than merely wishing to participate in the victorious after defeating captives. God really wished to marry Sarah. He had his eyes on the most beautiful woman married to Abraham.
Right.
Abraham into a hopeless battle, trying to rescue Lot. But Abraham die in battle and then take his widow Sarah.
So his intentions were horrible, right? He wanted Abraham to be killed as he's attempting to save his nephew. Thank God that didn't happen. Yet he was rewarded many, many years. It was considered a merit for him, for this terrible man, to tell Abraham that his nephew was kidnapped, and because eventually his nephew was released by Abraham, thanks to him, thanks to Og. Now, how do we know that? Because if you fast forward many, many years, this Og lived a very long life. Some say that he also survived the flood of Noah by climbing to the roof and being on top of the roof of the ark throughout the entire flood. Anyway, it's questionable how long this man lived, but he certainly lived a very, very long life. Now, fast forward about, about from Abraham to Moses, about 800 years, something like that, maybe even more. Fast forward, Og now is the king of Bashan. He launches a war against Moses and the Jewish people. Moses now has to go and battle Og, this big giant, who was the survivor that we're speaking about. But Moses is afraid. Why is Moses afraid? He wasn't afraid to fight other enemies. Not only that, God told Moses, you'll be victorious. They'll fall in front of you. So why is Moses afraid? Because Moses knows that Og is but one merit. What merit? That he told Abraham that his nephew was going to be kidnapped. Maybe in that merit, Og will be victorious over Moses. So Moses is afraid. He says maybe that merit will stand for it. Now, his intentions were horrible. Why should this even be considered a merit? And that is because at the end of the day, Judaism looks at what you do, not at what you are. To go back, looks at your human doing, not at your human being. At the end of the day, Lot was saved because the survivor told him, this Og told him that he was kidnapped. So he did what he needed to do. And that's it. That stands as a merit. But I want to take this a step further. And I want to learn from this, that there's tremendous power to even one single mitzvah that's done with bad intentions. You gave $1 to tzedakah, and it was hard for you to give that dollar. So why should I give this dollar? I need that dollar for later. And you still gave it. Bad intentions, but you still gave it. You never know what that single mitzvah can do for you in the future. That merit that this mitzvah can have can save you from the biggest wars. Inside wars, outside wars. You really never know. If we knew the power of just one single mitzvah, with good intentions, with bad intentions, we would do mitzvahs all the time. We use every moment to do mitzvahs. Because the merits stand for us forever and ever. Yes, please.
The right thing for the wrong reasons. Same thing.
Well, there you go. As long as you do the right things. As long as you do the right things. This also has a halakhic implication. Speaking about tzedakah. If you're walking in the street and you have a dollar that fell out of your pocket, and a poor person finds that dollar, you fulfill the mitzvah of tzedakah. Now, you had no intention to give that dollar. You're actually still looking for, where's my dollar? But the poor man found it, and he used it for his own good, to buy food, for whatever he needed. You fulfill the mitzvah of tzedakah. That's because, again, mitzvahs are judged by their actions, not by their intentions. And as long as you've done that action will stand for you forever and ever. Yes, Janet, you were able to raise your hand?
It brought me back to a memory. My late father, he always used to, so he's been gone for a while, back in the day. Anytime he'd see someone on the street, he'd give $1. Always.
Right.
And my mother, God rest her soul, she would always say, what do you, they're gonna buy a cigarette, they're gonna buy a drink, why do you do this? When they drive together, and my father, turned to her and he told me the story. He said, if I give $100 throughout the year, 100 times, and 99 bought cigarettes, but one person needed, he said, my $100 was worth it.
Wow, that's a beautiful way of saying it. Beautiful.
It sticks in my mind.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, there's a reality.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's amazing. Beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to use that. That's beautiful. Use that with my children. Yeah. Don't worry. I'll give you credit. I'll give your father credit. That's great. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if we want to ask, well, why is it that Judaism judges only the action, not the intention when it comes to good deeds? I think it's because Judaism also knows the human character. And that is that the more we do good, the more we become good. Deeds transform the heart. And therefore, the more good we do, the more good we become. And the emphasis, therefore, should only be on action. Whether you believe in it or not, whether you have good intentions or bad intentions, doesn't matter. Just do it. It's like he says, just do it. And then you'll become a transformed man. Yes.
You feel that. Right. When you do something, you feel that.
Because again, action transforms the heart. Your heart starts to,
doing something for you're not intentionally doing it for yourself, but
that's right.
You feel that.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's simple, even opening
Yeah,
door,
that's right. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be just tzedakah. Absolutely, any mitzvah. That's correct. Okay, again, let's open this up to any questions or disagreements or comments, please. Yes. Yeah, it's part of those. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Mhm.
Told, don't get things political on the communication lines within the temple.
Yeah.
Somebody that you don't necessarily generally agree with does something nice. It's not political if I look at a different group and I say, this person did something nice to Israel, or I say him did a very good act for a family who needed it. And so where does the line begin or end between political? If I were to say, my goodness, Joe Biden did such a nice thing to Israel. I don't remember my favorite, but I'm voting for Trump anyway. Why can't I say that? Because I'm describing a nice act. I'm not talking about a political background.
Right. So in the context of the community, right? First of all, I bemoan the fact, and I wrote about this past weekend, that people have divorced their families because of political disagreements. I think that's horrible, and we can we can disagree, but we can become disagreeable, right? And that was the case 20 years ago, I think, 30 years ago. Now, recently, it hasn't become the case. But I think in the context of the community, I think especially the pulpit, I'll quote Eleanor Roosevelt, who said that small people or small minds speak about people. Average minds speak about events. Great minds speak about ideas. I think the greatest of minds, if I may add to that quote, speak about actions, transforming those ideas into actions. If ideas just remain ideas, then what good are they? So the greatest of minds. So I think that year at CBT, I can't speak on behalf of other congregations, but we try to focus on ideas that can be translated into action. We don't want to talk about people. We don't talk about events. I once asked my beloved Rabbi Dean Steinsaltz, why doesn't he write about current events? Because he never wrote about current events. You can look it up. You'll Google his name. You'll have tens of thousands of articles. They wrote about ideas about, sometimes social criticism, but really never about events or never about politics. And he said to me, because I'm not the type of farmer that only plants cucumbers that are raised and then they disappear. I plant avocado trees. I want there to be trees forever and ever. Avocado trees are eternal. And in many ways, when you talk about events, it's temporary. So today you have this president, tomorrow you have that president, you have this governor, that governor. Who cares? We want to talk about the greatest of ideas that become actions. We want to elevate the conversation here. And we want to plant avocado trees, not just cucumbers. So that's what we try to focus on. And that's why we do this. Now, we can go into the nitty-gritty details of whether you support that policy or that policy. Fine. People can talk about whatever they want in their own social circles. I can only speak about what we strive to do here in this community. But if you're having lunch over somebody from CBT, it's your independent lunch. We're not the Ayatollah Khomeini over here who will tell you how to dress during that lunch, what to eat during that lunch, and what to speak about during that lunch. You can do whatever you want. That's the philosophy, at least. Yes, Geraldine. Right. Right. So in dire situations, yes, Kabbalists might tell you that you may want to consider not necessarily changing your name, but adding a name. The reason for that is because we believe that the name is really the access code to the energy, to the blessings that God gives us. And that's why we also believe, and Kabbalah says this clearly, that when parents name their children, they're endowed with a spirit of prophecy to name them, because they need it. They need to know exactly what name to give that child so that he can unlock his energy and his blessings. With the wrong name, they might remain locked. So God helps them. God comes and speaks through them. That's what that spirit of prophecy is referring to. That's also why, by the way, if you ever have friends who ask you, hey, what should I name my son? What should I name my daughter? Don't tell them. You're not allowed to tell them. It should come from them. Only they're endowed with that spirit of prophecy, not you. But so that's the power of names. Now, when a person is going through a very big crisis, or whether he's personally sick, or like you said, can't get married, or whatever it may be, then we want to open up those blessings that may be locked. So we try a different access code, and we give him a different name.